The Nerd and Tie podcast is unsurprisingly part of the Nerd and Tie podcast network. For more podcasts from actual play to true crime to witchcraft, go to nerdandtie.com or find an invite for our Discord at nerdandtie.com/discord. Did you know you could sponsor Nerd and Tie? That's right. For just $20, we'd say your name here. We'd say how cool you are. We'd talk about how you look kicking in those jeans. Just go to nerdandtie.com and click on Sponsor Our Shows in the menu to find out more. Or don't, because literally no one's forcing you to do anything ever. Well, at least not in regards to us. On this episode of Nerd and Tie, we are discussing the Ohayocon situation and everything that's been going down there so far, from the beginning to the current day, which is Sunday, October 8th. We're gonna speed run this for you. That's the show. Welcome to Nerd and Tie, the only podcast on the internet with a dress code. I am one of your hosts, Trae. Joining me, as always, are Genproc.
What up?
And back again, stronger than ever, Celeste Startwin.
Hi, everybody.
We
Hope
all
you
exist.
missed me.
We did. We all did. Some of you will notice that technically we're in October now. This is the October episode. We're just going to do one less episode this year, and nobody worry about it, okay? the timing with stuff worked out funny, and this is where we are. So that episode that came out in September is the September episode. There just was no August one, and we're gonna live our life. This month we are talking about probably the biggest news in the convention scene over the last week has been all of the stuff happening with Ohayocon, because it's a lot. Like, describing the situation is difficult to begin with, because
that's why we've dedicated an entire episode to this. It's a big mess.
Mess. So all right. So on October 2nd, on Monday, October 2nd, is the Ohayocon website was taken offline, as well as the Ohayocon Facebook page, and the website was replaced with a message, and this went up on the Facebook page, where I'm not going to read the entire thing. We will have links to all of this stuff in the show notes for the episode. We have an article where we've been including sources and links for all of this stuff this entire time, so everything I reference will be in the link that is in the show notes. The con website was replaced with a long message that the opening line is, "In a shocking turn of events, Melissa Phelps, the president of the board of directors of Cultural Exchange Society Incorporated, has initiated a hostile takeover by firing and removing access from majority of the senior leadership team. This sudden and unexpected move has sent shockwaves through the community of Ohayocon volunteers." This goes further. It's effectively what it's saying, and this is, I think, oddly worded for a degree of just referring to it as a hostile takeover, because Melissa Phelps, at the time that this was published, was president of the board of directors of CESI, the Cultural Exchange Society Incorporated. We'll be calling it CESI throughout the rest of this episode, most likely. CESI is the parent organization of Ohayocon as of 2022, I believe, as they've been attempting to transition into a nonprofit. Melissa Phelps is the longtime owner of Ohayocon. There's a weird fact that they're actually, I was doing some research on the corporate structure, and while for a long time there was an LLC that was running the con, there is this window of years between the LLC seeming to be disbanded and the start of CESI, where she appears to have been running the convention without the legal protection of a corporation, which is just wild to me with a con this size.
Yeah, I heard that.
Understatement.
Like
she was
a con with
basically
a
doing it out of her own pocket, and I'm just like, what?
I can't imagine running the liabilities associated with a convention with a 5-figure attendance number, doing that without the protection of a legal corporation. I can't imagine running a 500-person convention without the protection of a legal corporation. That is nuts. That is just wild to me. But so describing it as a hostile takeover, I feel is not necessarily an accurate way to describe it. However, what happened, according to the people, the leadership members of Ohayocon, like the people who, the actual department heads of all these things, is that they lost access to their accounts, their email accounts, their actual Ohayocon accounts for that. And at least two people, Cody Marcum, who was the convention chair or executive director, depending on who you ask or how it's credited. It was him, as well as, I believe her name is Erin Reinhard, I want to say, who was the marketing head for the convention. These two people apparently, well, Erin Reinhard was the social media manager. Erin Reinhard. So Cody was, I believe, told that he was fired, that he was being let go, and Erin lost access to things, and then within hours of this post going up, the Facebook page got deleted entirely, or at least taken down, suspended. And so that post on the Facebook page, but the website stayed up for a couple of hours before it got also taken down. Melissa Phelps, who still had control of the official Ohayocon Twitter at the time, and that's going to be a fun conversation later, announced that they have tweeted the following about the situation. Hi, Ohayocon. We have parted ways with our former con chair and social media head after an unapproved change to our logo and brand identity that we were not able to come to an agreement on internally. Thank you for your support. We will be back soon. Erin Reinhard, who was the social media, the marketing head / social media person, found out that she was fired from this tweet. And
classy.
Yeah. So this is a really odd turn of events. So the logo for Ohayocon, for those of you who aren't familiar with the con, has long-term had, at least since I think 2008, had a red cross in it, which, by the way, besides being a trademark violation of the red cross, is it's illegal under federal law. It's just not legal to use that on things. And Ohayocon has received, since they started using that, at least 2 cease and desist letters from the Red Cross.
I mean, this is why you need a Transformers fan on staff at your convention. They could have told you that. Lickety split. That's why you don't have an animation accurate Ratchet toy.
So according to the staff, they met to vote on changing the logo. And Erin Reinhard, who is in charge of the marketing and their kind of the design, designed a series of logos. And I've seen some of the design sheets of options that she submitted. And they held a meeting to change the logo. According to the staff, and this is what I've spent a lot of time listening in on the staff. The staff took control of the Ohayocon Discord, and I don't really mean to say took control because, as far as I can tell, Phelps never had control over the Discord. It was completely run by the volunteer staff of the event. So they've kind of taken the Discord. You'll note that the current Ohayocon website, which is back up, no longer links to the Discord on any of their official materials because the Discord is effectively been taken over by the staff. They according to that, they held a meeting about the logo. They repeatedly invited Melissa and wanted her to come, Melissa Phelps to come, along with the other 2 members of the other members of the board of directors. I don't know. So Emily De Jesus, I can say words. I have said this name many times, but Emily De Jesus and Justin Nordell, I believe, are the other current members. There was a changeover in 2 of the members of the board of directors earlier this year. I think Molly Phelps, Melissa's daughter, and then a fourth person, both resigned from the board earlier this year, and Justin Nordell was brought in to be their third member. I don't know if this vote happened before or after that change in the board. But the board was invited to this meeting and chose not to attend. In fact, they repeatedly asked Melissa to come. She chose not to attend, and the organization voted to update the logo to this logo with the Sakura blossom on it, which I will be referring to as the Blossom logo from now on. This is the logo change that Phelps claims is at the core of the problem. Except, from what we've been told, like, there was no meeting held about it. The board did not convene a meeting with the staff and ask them to change it. They just all immediately got removed. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds like a weird reaction to a logo change. Well, there's a whole other thing, and Phelps has reverted the logo to versions that have the cross on it but aren't red the way the old one was. First a blue version, and now this weird gradient version, which actually might be too red to not be in violation of the trademark for the Red Cross.
And like with the blue version, there's also a company out, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're still getting really close to other companies that have that logo. And
just having a medical logo actually is highly confusing and dangerous because, like, say there's a medical emergency nearby the con and someone sees a whole bunch of people wearing logos with crosses on it. They might think there are medical personnel who can help them. Nope. But that's just, someone being reasonable. But there's a thing happening here with Ohayocon staff this whole time that plays more into things than. So here's the thing: there's going to be a degree of speculation here because we cannot be sure because we have not been in any. We cannot be sure of all the motivations. But here's this thing that's been happening with Ohayocon. Earlier this year, a group of the staff formed a workers' organization. It's not technically a union because it's a group of volunteers. You can't form a federally protected union as non-employees, right? But it is still a workers' rights organization. They formed a group called Conventions of Ohio Volunteer Event Network, or Coven. And on March 4th, 2023, the Coven group presented a document to Phelps and other members of the board of CESI. Again, March 4th, listing kind of a set of demands that they wanted for their workers. And again, in the link that we'll be including here has links to all of this stuff. It's pretty much condemning the board paying themselves and wanting, like, workers to, like, not have to, like, move hotel rooms and stuff between nights of the con, and, like, just effectively asking for. And this was always a negotiable document, right? It's the members of CESI will tell you that, not CESI, the members of the Coven. It's too many C words in this. That was not a euphemism. Like the Coven asks are reasonable, and it's. I'm not saying that that CESI is under obligation to give them what they wanted, but they were making demands, and so that's why a lot of people have been casting this story as CESI and Melissa Phelps trying to union bust. And why some of their defenses would say, well, it's not technically a union, but the spirit of it is because Cody Marcum, who had been the con chair, was heavily involved in this stuff. It seemed as them attempting to kind of break this organization of workers. So that's fun. So the official Facebook group kind of got locked down, and I've not been able to get access into the official Facebook group for Ohayocon. But I have gotten screenshots of some of the posts that were made in there. And literally, Melissa Phelps made a post where she directly said that she removed the convention director. Again, the title that this person's referred to, executive director, convention director, con chair. She's talking about Cody Marcum whenever she says all of these, because also, like, another time in the same post, she refers to Cody as the convention chairman. Like, it's yeah. The Melissa Phelps says the logo in question contract to be created by the social media person of the board. There's no contract. It was literally just, hey, could design us a logo. And talked about the logo not being approved by the board and all this. Now, this whole thing doesn't really, and at no point has there ever been an explanation for why the senior staff was locked out of their accounts. And so it's really weird because, and this is going to be important later, that Erin Reinhard, Melissa Phelps has repeatedly said, and we have screenshots of private messages where she has said this. She has said it in that she has explicitly said that Cody Marcum and Erin Reinhard were fired. Okay.
That's oof.
Now, Phelps on I think it was the 5th or the 4th, has repeatedly said she was going to have a Q&A about this on the Facebook group. This did not occur, as far as I can tell. But that's because some other stuff happened. Oh, this is a fucking trip. All right, so.
Shouldn't laugh, but oh my God.
So, she sent, in some of her posts, though, she posted, so what happened was that the Coven group went to, they brought a list of demands to kind of this 14 points that they wanted, and Melissa Phelps posted her response, and because the thing from the organization was a little harsh and like called the board inept in it, where the workers Coven's set of demands called the workers inept, the entire thing feels like this personally insulted tone. It's honestly, like, reading this thing, I mean, I could have told anybody that, like, if you're going to try to negotiate with someone, insulting them directly and calling them inept was probably not a great way to open it. However, the fact that, like,
not a great opening move. No.
The fact that, though, that, like, Phelps in response was like, well, I feel insulted by the first paragraph, so I'm just going to deny the rest of your shit. Like,
oh boy,
it feels childish. The entire thing feels childish. Like, and this is all, like, we're on the 3rd. I'm sorry, the 3rd. She posted the thing about the Q&A happening on the 3rd. Jesus, we are like 2 days into this and all of this has happened.
Yeah, this is like,
oh boy.
By the end of the day on the 3rd, the Ohayocon website went back up. With registration was still down at that time. Registration is back up now. And it was a rolled back version of the page, still had the Sakura logo on it. The Blossom logo, I should say. I want to, for later, it's going to be important for why I refer to it as the Blossom logo instead of that. But they eventually have changed the logo to this weird, this awful. the logo they're using right now is awful.
The oil spill.
Yeah, it's
the oil spill
it's
cross.
It's a bad logo. It's also, like, compressed. That's the thing, is it's so compressed.
It's like, so bad.
This was, and on the 4th, at least by the 4th, the Ohayocon page went back up. And the Ohayocon staff put up effectively a list of demands. And the Ohayocon staff, so you've got the staff versus CESI here right now. The Ohayocon staff put up this set of 7 demands, which included the reinstatement of Cody Marcum as convention chair and the empowerment of Cody Marcum to control over contracts and finances. Just their opinion that the CESI's role should be limited. Reinstatement of the senior leadership who were let go due to covenant, because they believe that the senior leadership, reimplementation of the Sakura, they call it the Sakura logo. I'm referring to as the Blossom logo. Senior leadership team handling public relations because Melissa was not doing a great job. And restriction on culture of CESI's board members' social media activity as it relates to Ohayocon. And this was signed off by at least 6 department heads, if not more people. And again, and they have said, the leadership said they were willing to negotiate on many of these things. It's just that this was their starting point. Now, this is the 4th that list of demands that we at least saw those. This is when I was finally able to try to email Melissa Phelps for comment on this story, because throughout this whole thing, the Facebook page was gone. I could not get into the Facebook group. I did not want to contact her personal Facebook account because that feels unprofessional, and that would feel like a gross invasion to me. But I couldn't find an email for her. So it wasn't until the website came back up that I was able to find an email for her. She still has not sent, and we still have not gotten any comment from Melissa Phelps or the board while trying to cover this. If it sounds like we're taking Coven's side of this more often than you think we should, listener, it is because those are the people who have actually spoken. They're the so this brings us to the 6th. All right, so we're Friday. This has been 5 days. Ohayocon put out a statement that they emailed to their mailing list and also put out on their website. And again, this is on ohayocon.org right now. I have a saved copy in case this ever goes away, because always screenshot and archive everything. But
right,
effectively tries to spin this entire situation in a really weird way. Because first off, they say no one was fired.
Oh.
This is an interesting contradiction to Melissa Phelps explicitly saying, I quote, "I did fire Cody and Erin."
Well, it's like one of those non-firing firings,
Yeah, of course.
It's like that non-grain cereal, it's...
Additionally, the official statement claims that a well-meaning volunteer, in quotes, sent the Ohayocon logo to the Red Cross to be evaluated. This is not true. The Red Cross independently sent a cease and desist to Ohayocon. They also claim that there was that risk of the Sakura, the people who make pens, that company. They claim that the Blossom logo, this is why I didn't want to call it the Sakura logo, the Blossom logo put them at the risk of being sued by Sakura. Now, there is an argument that those logos are different enough. However, that not using the logo could be argued based on that. However, as far as anyone knows, and as far as, at least as of Monday, there had been no legal... nothing was ever brought to the staff about the Sakura Blossom logo, about the Blossom logo being in violation of Sakura's trademark. There is no... If a cease and desist did arrive to Ohayocon, literally none of the senior staff were aware of it. If CESI's board has a copy of something like that, we do not believe that I am under the belief that there was no threats from the company Sakura over this. I do not believe that this is a thing that happened. But additionally, it is strange to say we're not using it for this reason when that reason was never told to the designer or to the rest of the staff about why they shouldn't use the logo.
It's almost like there's just a whole bunch of like Gish Gallop just being thrown out and changing depending on who's listening.
Well, because here's the thing. Melissa Phelps did not write this statement.
Okay.
Justin did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Justin Nordell did, who is the other board, who's one of the other board members. And in fact, they sent the CESI board sent a response to the Ohayocon senior leadership over their demands and an email. And Justin Nordell sent this email. And in it, we discovered that Melissa Phelps has stepped down from the Ohayocon, from CESI's board. She is no longer a member of the board of directors as of at least Friday. However, she has now been made the new executive director of Ohayocon.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Yikes. That's,
see, apparently the board's saying, hey, we should like the demand of, hey, the person in charge, our executive director or contra, whatever, should have the ability to actually run things, and not Melissa on the board. The board's decision was, well, Melissa will step down from the board and she'll take over that job. Because here's the thing, in their official statement, they talk about how there's this new executive director job and everyone is available to apply to it, but it's clear from the statement that they have already filled this position.
It reminds me of it reminds me of during the drama of before the board of directors was kicked out of Daishocon when like for anyone who's not aware, I was a member of the board of directors for Daishocon years before everything went completely down the sheezer. And we were told that the board collectively had too much power. And then one of the people making that argument was given a position that made him unilaterally more powerful than the entire board together, let alone any individual member of the board. That's what I'm reminded of right now.
Yeah, So it's a little different than this. The Daishocon situation was a little bit different. The Daishocon
situation is impossible to one-to-one.
Oh, it's
because it was just such a mess. But I can't help but think of things that I'm familiar with.
But here's the thing: like, it's the tone deafness of this statement is just insane to me. Like, it's taking a look at this entire thing, like it's a very passive aggressive, like the Nordell's, like the opening statement is like saying like all, here, contrary to misinformation swirling online, no volunteers or member of the senior leadership team have been fired from Ohayocon, and this next time, only 3 positions have been dissolved in the organizational chart shift. Which again, we are like, I want to point out this con is in January. It is October.
Yeah, this is not a time to be doing massive changes in
Why
staffing.
would you restructure your con 3 months ahead of time?
Yeah, I want to... vendors have already paid for their spots.
Yeah.
Like, that is to say, I don't know that there's ever a good time to restructure, but there are definitely bad times. And like,
this is one of them.
This is by far one of them.
Yeah, and so also, like, there's a sentence in here: while CESI would love its Ohayocon volunteers to have the ability to unionize, national and Ohio state labor laws prevent unpaid volunteers of any kind from forming a union. As such, no Ohayocon union has ever or could ever exist, and no, quote, union busting has or even could take place. Like, that's the whole, like, I'm technically not hitting you of statements, right? Like, you're not technically a union, so we can't technically be union busting. Like, this entire thing is this entire statement is so, again, it comes down to the fact that like the description of the stuff at the logo is completely it's so almost true but not really. Like saying no one's been fired, but then we dissolved 3 positions. Who are the 3 positions that were dissolved? And why would you be dissolving positions in October?
Yeah.
Are you insane? This is not how you run a convention.
Get.
But also, like we invite, we couldn't run without our volunteers, and so we invite people to apply. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you have, like, okay, so Coven, as an organization, represents as far as I've been told, like, this is an event that needs about 300 volunteers, and Coven represents about 100 people. This is a third of the workforce, including all of the senior leadership, including like the vendor head and like the artist alley head and the video gaming head and all this stuff. Like, these are department heads core to the These are department heads core to the organization of running a required to do it. And like this is like the key organizational moment for an event, right? In the 3 to 4 months before a con is where you're doing the hardest work, right? This is when you're hitting deadlines. And like, if I were the CESI board of directors, I would be trying to sit down and negotiate with Coven immediately, because you cannot run a convention. And so, like, all this stuff, like, after these responses on Friday, senior leadership, followed by the entirety of Coven, announced as of 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on October 6th that they were going on strike. And before you tell me, oh, they don't have a union, anybody can strike. You don't need a union to legally strike. And also, arguably you could say, oh, it's a boycott, not a strike, but it's the same difference in this case. It's like,
yeah, that's the funny thing about a strike, is that it doesn't particularly matter if it's legally recognized or not. If your workforce refuses to work, they're striking. It doesn't matter if you want to acknowledge it or not.
This isn't like a regular strike where, like, people are, like, in a regular strike, you have to worry about strike funds and things like that, of getting money to the people striking so they can continue to survive, right? That's not, like, that's a risk that usually goes into striking, right? That you're not going to be making money or getting paid while you're on strike. And like, that's the big obstacle. This is people who've been working for free. These are people who are not financially dependent on this organization to live or survive. Like, the power dynamics in this kind of event lies with the volunteer workforce. The power lies with the volunteer workforce of people willing to give up their time and their lives because they believe in a project. Like, it's, if you've ever worked a con, you know that no one is doing it. Like, there are for-profit cons, but even when this con was for-profit, which I believe the main reason why they went non-profit was because someone probably pointed out that the case law pretty much established that it's not legal to volunteer for a for-profit corporation anymore. It used to be in a gray area, and now it's been pretty clearly legally defined as bad. So they reincorporated as a nonprofit. You can't volunteer for a for-profit corporation legally.
Yeah, that's
so. But these are people who, like, I've had conversation with some of these people. And I haven't confirmed a lot of this stuff, but I know the video game head said that he once had to upfront like $20,000 of his own money to pay for stuff before he got reimbursed. This is a con with a 5-figure attendance. I've run cons like with much smaller than that, and you don't make someone pay for like $500 out of their own pocket. The con gets on that shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's appalling.
I mean, how bad do you have to do in order to piss off the people who are working your con for free?
Yeah.
Like...
And these people, like, I don't know what CESI thinks is happening here, that they think that these people are replaceable, or that they will just come back and fall in line, or that they can run the event without them, because
good luck.
I don't think that's happening.
No.
I again, you can't, I don't want to make it a one-to-one thing, but like
the parallels are there.
The parallels are there, and we have, again, Dice Show is a good case study of what happens when you keep burning bridges with all of your workforce. Mm-hmm. Eventually it becomes untenable.
Yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah, so, and the weird little coda to this so far today, the latest piece of news is, at least when I checked this afternoon, I don't know when it went down exactly, but sometime within the last day, Ohayocon has taken down their Twitter/X is down. It says the account's deleted, which means they've suspended the account and have 30 days. Like, they can undelete it within the next 30 days, but they have taken down their Twitter.
Oh. That's probably fine.
Which is weird, because, like, they could have just deleted tweets. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're going to stop people from finding all of the critical tweets when they search Ohayocon, you know? So that's weird. Also, they never lost control of the Twitter. I don't want to call it an X. I'm not calling it an X. Elon, go eat a lemon.
Yeah, I was about to say, what? Don't even bother with Twitter, aka X. It's Twitter. It's still Twitter.
Yeah. It's bad now, but it's still Twitter. This whole thing has been like, literally every day this week has been like me checking in on this story. Like, the only day I didn't update this article was I didn't update it on the 5th, and I didn't update it on the 7th. Maybe the Twitter went down on the 7th. I don't know. I went to the corn maze with my wife.
And like, you know, like all three of us have people who are directly affected by this shenaniganery.
Yeah.
Like, this is hurting, like, people who really do care about it, and it really sucks to see this thing that people care about and how it is just...
Well, Ohiocon's been running since 2001. It's one of the oldest conventions in the Midwest. You know, it's anime conventions, I should say. Before somebody jumps at me, it's like, I know, like, when we launched No Brand Con, the only cons I can think of in the Midwest are Anime Iowa, ASEN, and Ohayocon.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's... I just, with a third of their workforce, including all of the, like, department heads, currently striking / boycotting, I don't see why anyone in their right minds would register for Ohayocon right now. And it's important to note that Ohayocon has a no refunds policy on their registrations.
Yeah,
it's the most ridiculous policy ever, but, like, it's that there's no, like, you can't even transfer it to a later year.
I'd feel so bad for all of the vendors who have already paid for their booths. Yeah. I'm seeing so many messages between artists saying, like, do not attend.
Yeah, it's
don't even apply to this. Like, it's going to be such a bad show. It's just, and personally, like, as a trained graphic designer, I would love to get into the logo shenanigans, because when you're designing a logo for something, the first thing you do is you check if anybody else has that logo already.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything close to it.
Yeah, like, I don't like the Blossom logo. I was going to admit, like, the Blossom logo I like better than their one that violates federal law.
Yeah,
I like it more than
that's my opinion as well. Also, neither of these logos, like, I don't understand why they're using those logos. They don't make sense to me.
Which one? Okay, so the Red Cross, the reason
Especially the cross.
Oh, that
I have
one
no
is
idea
because
why they're using a cross for an anime convention.
Their
In
mascot
Ohio,
is a nurse.
Okay.
Their mascot is a nurse. That's why they're using that. And the Sakura is just because they wanted something
Different,
Japanese
yeah.
that was different.
Well,
And they wanted
I've
it to be
seen...
they wanted to keep the red theme, and it would be an appropriate shape to use on a red logo.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay,
color
yeah.
branding.
Now I understand, kind of. But
I will say that the stamens or whatever in the center of the Sakura logo remind me of the Crossroads of Knowledge from Greendale Community College. Logo. It looks like a butthole.
Pluribus anus.
Yeah, it looks like a butthole. I'm sorry. It just I can't once I saw it as a butthole, I could not unsee. Like the Blossom logo is better than the Red Cross logo, but I cannot unsee the butthole.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen people trying to float other logo ideas around, like a rising sun. Like, because Ohio is spelled like the Japanese word for good morning.
Right.
Not like the state.
Right. Because, that's the pun. Yeah.
But then you're getting into like flag territory, and it's like, you don't want to rip off like an actual like flag that has been used.
I've seen some interesting concepts with like a Buckeye.
Right? Like you could go in that direction. Having the nurse, like there are other medical like adjacent implements and like symbols that you could use that aren't like directly off of an existing like medical entity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole medical thing really just again, I'm absolutely thrown by that. I get
like,
it.
Why is your mascot a nurse in the first place?
That I don't know.
Also
like,
a good
I have
question.
questions for you, Ohayocon. Why did you choose this?
Were you really into Soul Taker back in the day? If
right?
so,
I don't know.
I need friends.
They've had the nurse has been there for a really long time, so I have no idea.
Yeah. And plus, like, because like we've all worked for conventions that have had mascots, and like you can have a mascot and put them in slightly different outfits and not base your logo around it. You don't have to base your logo around your mascot. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
You can have a totally different thing going on that'll represent your entire convention, not just one single aspect of it that gets drawn on the program guide. Like,
yeah, it's like Anime Central technically has their anime person in their logo, but like they use like an L that I think it looks more like the John Hancock building is the L. Like it's or they have their AC logo, which is just the A and the C with a swoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Minimalist. Here for it.
Yeah, there are tons of conventions out there that literally just have a text logo.
Yeah. No Brand Con has a text
and
logo.
Fine.
Anime Iowa just has a text logo.
Yeah, like, and they have their pig mascot that gets dressed up in all sorts of outfits.
Yeah. No Brand Con has Duct Tape Boy. Duct Tape Boy has never been in a logo.
No, that's way too complex.
He's such a pain to draw. The t-shirts this year were so full disclosure.
Yes.
Full disclosure. Sorry, I got a thing fell out of my hand. I am a co-founder of No Brand Con, Wisconsin's longest running anime convention. Although we are currently considering our long-term future in any direction, we have been running since 2002. So our con's about the same age, only we are much tinier. But because No Brand Con, I was for this year, I was part of my job was doing the merch for this year, and we had some brilliant artwork by artist Ethan Flanagan. that we were using for our stuff, but Duct Tape Boy was on it, and we were putting it together, the t-shirt, and I had to reduce the lines for the t-shirt printing out of Duct Tape Boy. He's a character made out of duct tape. And so printing is like, yeah, we are never putting that boy in a logo. That's just a mistake. But it's I don't know. The logo, I think, is like the least, the logo has gotten so central to this story because it feels like that was the inflection point, the excuse.
Yeah, and it's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
I just can't get over, like, it's such a weird thing to center on, and to be so adamant that the logo does not change, that you, like, fire people over it, is just a wild concept to me.
Oh, and like I've seen, like, some people will get really defensive over art designs. Like, I've seen it happen in other events that I've run, but I've never seen someone get fired or like kicked off of con staff for it.
Yeah.
I've seen things get heated, but not also that heated.
That explains why Erin Reinhard was removed, right? Because Erin Reinhard did the logo. Erin Reinhard put it up. Why was Cody Marcum fired? You know, that's the thing that's been missing. That's why most people are, like, to one degree, like, Melissa was saying a lot of things that kept being focused on the logo, what she told people, and you can't just change someone's logo on them, which was the weirdest one I saw. That was in a private message.
Yes, you can.
I was like, yeah, you didn't go to the meeting. Well, okay, so, and like the impression I get is that she's used to a degree of control from her years of being a sole proprietor and being the only owner of the convention and having that whole, like, and when you are in that position, you can just make dictates. But when you switch to being a nonprofit organization, occasionally that organization is going to do stuff and the people are going to do the jobs they have. And, you know, she had the authority and power as president of the board to reverse those decisions, right? She could have just said, no, we're changing the logo back, or we're changing the logo to this, and had the authority to do it. And they made that logo change at the beginning of September. And all of this happened at, like, the beginning of October. So she sat on that for a month. That logo sat out there for a month, and she could have used her authority to change it. And as far as I've been able to, like, find out, there was no open board meeting with the staff that happened within that time frame, and someone can correct me, or if there's, but as far as I've been told, there was no meeting with the board within that time period, and she could have just reverted the logo, right, if that was actually the problem, and you know, but no, it seems like she sat for a month and then did, and so that's weird, and it feels like this was a strange, calculated play. It's hard to say, and all I can think of is everybody needs to go home. This sucks, because here's what has me pissed off. Okay, so I don't know how much Melissa's financially relying on this, because her compensation as the head of the board of directors, she got effectively repaid for some labor and stuff, and she requested additional compensation that, as far as I know, she did not get, right? Like, so she's not getting paid here, but all these people are volunteers. This is a bunch of volunteers versus people who aren't getting paid. And I totally understand why the volunteers are doing it, and I'm sympathetic to them, and if I was going to pick a side, it's their side I would pick right now, because I haven't seen an argument that would support this.
Hard agree.
But this is for all of those people, and this is what the board needs to realize, is that for all of these volunteers, this is a hobby for them. This is what happens if this con fails, is they all go home to their lives and live happy lives and are fine. They do not have anything at risk. They have nothing to lose by doing this. What sucks is that the board needs to get off their ass and sit down and negotiate, not because of the board's sake or for the volunteers' sake, but for the sake of every single paying attendee and paying vendor and artist, and the vendor and artist especially. An attendee is a bad time. That sucks. That was their hard-earned money. That was their recreation going away. But vendors and artists are financially dependent on the existence of events like this. They are made promises by events like this that they will be run run well, and they will supply them with the customers so they can pay their rent and feed themselves. And the fact is that the board is fucking around with the livelihoods and well-being of these vendors and artists who are trying to live. And if any of these people don't make rent because this con doesn't happen, because the board wasn't willing to sit down and have a reasonable adult conversation with the people in Coven, then it is the board's fault for everything bad that, they are not legally liable as far as I know, but morally they are responsible for everything bad that happens to those vendors and artists because of this. So get off your ass and be a fucking adult. Emily DeJesus, Justin Nordell, and a player to be named later, because you can't function legally with your bylaws without 3 board of director members. I've read your bylaws. I have a copy because Melissa shared them on the internet to everybody. She did.
I want to know what it is. Maybe, and again, I might be overgeneralizing. I want to understand what it is that happens with certain people when they start working conventions, that they get a little bit of power or authority from being put in charge of something or one aspect of the con or something, and then suddenly they just power trip about it. Because this keeps happening.
Yeah,
and I'm sick of it.
It could be speculated that this little, iota of power that they get from the convention is all the power, is like all the control they get in their lives, which would be super sad, but also understandable.
I'm about to say, I can't rule that out. That feels likely to me. And I mean, I don't want to psychoanalyze someone who I haven't met, but I'm so sick of seeing this happen.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it happen at events that I wasn't staff on, but then I saw people get real weird because of their association with it. I've seen it happen to events I was working on. I've seen very otherwise reasonable people turn into just colossal dickheads when they think they have some modicum of power. And I'm sorry, but if you are running a convention, you have to be doing it because you want to run a convention. This isn't something that's going to make you powerful. It's not something that's going to make you famous. And if the chances are, if people know who you are as a convention runner, then it means you're doing something colossally wrong. That's been my experience anyway. People should not know. If you're doing your job right, people shouldn't know who you are. That's just my take, but
yeah.
No, and I think another aspect is so many people come into the convention running thinking that, sorry, I'm fighting with a cat who wants to get up in my business.
It's okay.
While I'm recording this. So apologies if I'm pausing. I'm tossing him off my desk. But there are those out there that think that if they get into like convention running, they're going to make a ton of money off of it as well. And like the 3 of us know very well that like you don't make very much money off a convention.
If anything,
you lose money. You lose a lot of money.
You lose a lot of money, and any money you do make should be going right back into that convention to make it run another year.
And maybe you run a convention for over 20 years and you miss your attendance targets and you're reevaluating your event's financial future.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but that's the scary thing. You're in a precarious position.
Yeah.
Like no one should be running these things thinking this is how I'm going to make it big, because even the people who
these are not stable things at all.
I mean, case in point, the Wizard World bubble bursting is a beautiful example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will not find stability in running a convention. If you are lucky, your convention will survive year after year after year.
Yeah. It's so frustrating.
To be a convention runner, you have to come at it with a level head and an altruistic heart.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just that I don't know if it's just like con sharing that it just seems to attract people who have, and this is coming completely from my personal experience, so I really need to be called out if I'm full of shit right now. But it really, in my experience, it seems to on way too often attract people with like self-esteem issues who are really into these subcultures, and then they see getting power in this one aspect of a niche, this niche of a niche, as validating, and then suddenly that causes this immense disproportionate power trip.
And you know what, like, here's the thing, is it's like when you organize an event, and so it's important to note, you said con sharing, but like in this particular case, the con chair was not a member of the board of directors. The con chair is the person who's been removed. And although they're very confusing with their titles right now, because they have used 3 different titles for the same position and have said they dissolved. Anyways, I think like this is always a big problem for me in especially these board of directors run events, because you have this insular power. Like so when we set up No Brand Con's nonprofit, which is not a C3, it's not a C4, it's C7. But when we set up our corporation with an actual lawyer and didn't just buy it off of LegalZoom, well, partially because LegalZoom did not exist when we did corporate it as a nonprofit. But like our structure has very explicit things that prevent a lot of this stuff, including any member of staff can be removed by a majority vote during a quorum meeting if they overstep. If they violate our rules, you can vote them out. The board of directors technically for the event does exist, but it's just an assembly of 3 of the elected positions that get elected every year. There are no one, it's like, and our board of directors does not have the ability to directly fire people. They have to make a motion and hold it in a meeting. Like, it's tons of stuff like that, which I believe shielded the organization against a lot of like ego, and like shielded the organization against like a lot of like the limitations of power on everybody. Like, if you want to spend more than $50 of your budget, it has to be approved by the organization. Like, is like all of these things. Like, No Brand Con, I'm not saying that we never had drama, or that we've never had drama between staff. At one point, one staffer did hit another staffer and then storm out of the meeting. It involved one of those staffers dating the ex of the other staffer. It was very complicated. This was like, this is like 2004.
I don't think any con doesn't have drama.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure.
this is not saying this is drama free, or that we never had anybody who like grossly violated, the rules or anything like that. There is a particular individual who was caught embezzling, and those funds were repaid, which is why we did not press charges. But that person was permanently expelled from the organization. Like, stuff has happened. Like, this is not like, I'm not saying we were some perfect golden organization when it comes to that, but we overall did not have to deal with this, like, of a person who is exercising or hoarding power or anything like that, because I believe that organizationally it did not allow someone like that to thrive. And that's why I don't like these board of directors run events. I mean, I guess like if you're running a nonprofit that is large enough, it may be a necessity, but it may be a necessity in this situation. However, clearly they needed the only way to remove someone from CESI's board of directors is for the rest of the board of directors to vote to call a vote and vote within the board of directors to remove them. And the only people effectively who can, like, it's all structured in a way that pretty much insulates the board of directors from outside threats. Even though they do have to be elected by the membership once every 2 years, it's not clear that, like, the bylaws are very poorly written. They're from LegalZoom. This is not how I would structure this organization for, like, making sure that there's accountability. It's not great. Somebody paid $40 for this, and that's it. Please, if you're forming a corporation that is handling events this size, please go talk to an actual lawyer. Just like a LegalZoom thing is fine if you're like a startup, but if you're a convention that's been running for 2 decades, hire a lawyer. Also, go talk to Coven, you dinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if they're going to try to run this thing without like a third of their workforce,
without the key members of their workforce who know how things actually work. Like, institutional knowledge is so important in events like this.
Yeah.
Like, institutional knowledge is a requirement, and if the outgoing head does not pass on anything to the incoming head, like even if they replace all of these people, which, to be fair, they have a right to do, they can go get scabs. You can go scab for Ohayocon if you want, but you're not going to have any of the information or any of the resources on how a job has been done, what it needs. Like, I would not take that job, and I could probably do half of the jobs of the people who are boycotting. Because I have, my first badge for working a con is from 96. I'm old. There is gray in my beard. So yeah, it's if
Sally, don't scab.
Yeah,
it's that simple for me.
So yeah, so CESI needs to sit down with Coven and get this shit figured out. And the power lies with Coven right now. Because, again, they don't have anything to lose. They could all just go staff MatsuryCon instead, which is another convention in Columbus. Like, it's not like you're the only game in town. You're just the oldest game in town.
Yep.
And by the way, MatsuryCon exists because of a staff fracture 17 years ago or something like that in Ohayocon. Because of people mad at Melissa Phelps. So, and before people say, oh, they should just go start their own con, manpower is not the only resource you need to start a con. It's just,
God, no. I wish.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You guys have anything else to say on the topic? This has been an hour so far.
Be realistic about things. Staff cons, because you like staffing conventions. You're not going to get famous. Yeah.
Staff cons, like, to make friends.
Yes, that's a great reason to staff cons. Staff cons because you believe in the community that we're building and want to nourish and help it.
Or like you want the experience of like leading groups and working in a semi-business format. Just getting like, because heck, for No Brand Con, we were able to use I don't know if it was technically a loophole or anything, but we were able to basically like get Trae, you remember the workforce credit thingy?
Oh, yeah, that wasn't a loophole. That was just completely following the rules. So yeah, like we when we ran in Eau Claire for years, we qualified for the service learning at the university where because we were our nonprofit, which we are qualified as like volunteering for us, qualified for the service learning requirements because we were a community event, an activity that benefited the local community. And so, people working for us got their service learning credit. Yeah, I signed off on a lot of those.
Awesome.
But anyways, so yeah, effectively though, if you are trying to run a con, so you feel like you have some power in your life, please just get therapy instead.
Yeah,
And,
just please get therapy.
And don't use a convention as an excuse to build a petty kingdom, because it's an easy way to hurt a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's including yourself, honestly. Like, that's the shittiest.
So
there is basically a 100% track record of that failing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be the special one. It's always going to blow up and hurt way more people than just you. And grumble. I'm definitely coming at it from the other angle. I'm, as someone who's lost regular events that my spouse and I attended to do artists, it really frickin' sucks not having income that we were counting on. You know, you are absolute, whenever like these conventions go down, that's just it. It hurts so many people when these things go up like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. With that, I think it's time to wrap up. We're not going to do the Vomit Hat Steve challenge, but I'm going to read out the names of the Hall of Awesome.
Ooh.
So, the members of the Hall of Awesome are as follows: Arkham Zero, Rena Innocenti, Cheesy McDamn, Krista, Slithery D, Shameless Otaku, The Random Ramblings Man, Corefan, Capito, Chris Graham, Millisaurus, Paper Godzilla, Cavsy, The Minnesota Librarian, Sean Orange, Keith Shizuo, Sakura Sunset, Joel Kreisman, Patrick Delahanty, Wonderland Hearts, and Meg Z Sass Council. If you want to know how to get into the Hall of Awesome, I guess go back like 5 episodes or something. We haven't been doing the challenge the last 2 episodes, so why should we continue to do that now? With that, I have been Trae Dorn.
I will be Genproc.
And I'm going to be an even better Celeste Star Twin.
Heck yeah.
And I'll remind you that you can always support the show financially by sponsoring episodes by going to nerdhead.com, clicking on sponsor our shows, or you can contribute to, I've got a Patreon at patreon.com/TREGORN. Celeste has got a Patreon at patreon.com/CelesteIsBest. And Gen sells stuff online as Cryptid Arcade on Etsy. What's in the store right now, Gen?
Let me bring it up and pick a listing. Beans. I'm not logged in on this computer.
There's spooky stuff. Spooky, neat stuff. Cool stuff.
Do you
can
need
buy
a
and take home
huggable
and cuddle
plushie of the Flatwoods monster?
Or the Jersey Devil?
Or the Jersey Devil?
Fresno Nightcrawler?
Fresno Nightcrawler is a great leggy boy.
Yep, little pair of pants.
One of my favorites.
Just go to Cryptid Arcade on Etsy.
Or just go to my website, cryptidarcade.com.
Yeah, do that. Remember, you can follow the show on social media. We are at Nerd and Tie on Twitter, on Tumblr. We're nerdandtie.tumblr.com. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/Nerd and Tie. And remember, you can follow this and all of our shows on the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network at nerdandtie.com. It's .com. And, there's a lot of great shows, including Cool and Unusual Punishment has just started a new series called The Chosen.
Really good.
Chosen. It's really good. It's about the spiritual abuse that happened at Valley Brook Church in Eau Claire, Wisconsin in 2015. And it's fascinating to listen to. There are 3 episodes in when we're releasing this, and it's just great. Or their previous series, Lugenbild, was also great. Just check them out. nerdandtie.com. You can find that and all the other shows. And remember, in your hearts and your minds, in those places that you are in the darkness, in those rare moments where you stand up and you see a light shining above you, remember, run. Just start running. Just start running. Just start running.
Don't look back.
Get out of there.
Get going.
Get going. You got places to be.
Don't wait. If you're wearing heels, take them off. Take those shoes off and run.
Oh, yeah.
If you stop, you're dead.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just keep going.
That light's not a good thing. Don't go into the light. The light's bad.
Keep on spocking in the free world?
God. Oh, yeah, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I guess. That too.
If you want to.
If you don't want to, then don't. Because remember, we're not making you do anything. Us specifically. Someone in your life might be making you do something, but we specifically, the Nerd and Tie podcast, Gen Proc, Celeste Startwin, and Trae Dorn are not making you do anything. We are not in charge of you. I refuse to be responsible for your actions. Do not blame me for any of this. I guess.
I started watching the live action One Piece, and I learned from that telling people do what you want is the best way to get them on your crew. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, remember when we used to be able to talk about things?
When we used to break news.
Well, we did. We just used to be able to
We
talk
just
about
did.
like fun stuff instead of having to
Yeah.
break news.
Yeah.
Let's all run away together.